A Mochi moment from Sadie, who writes, I'm not crying, you're crying. This is what I said during my first appointment with my physician at Mochi, because I didn't have to convince him I needed a GLP-1. He understood, and I felt supported, not judged. I came for the weight loss and stayed for the empathy. Thanks, Sadie. I'm Myra Ahmed, founder of Mochi Health. To find your Mochi moment, visit joinmochi.com.
Sadie is a Mochi member compensated for her story.
911, what's the nature of your emergency?
Welcome back to the Tactical Living Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Welton, joined by Sergeant Welton. Clint, how are you?
I'm good.
I've been thinking about our childhood a lot lately. I'm not really sure why I've been reminiscing on it so much, but maybe because the holidays are coming up. But I was thinking about how my dad and I would wait for him to come home and we would watch like Full House and Family Matters because that just so happened to be around the time when he would usually come home. And then that quickly turned into us being able to wait until it got a little bit later and to watch Cops. Mm-hmm. And then I was thinking about how crazy it is how the show Cops used to be like the only form of public scrutiny that like social media is now for police officers. And yet Cops was never scrutinized. It was one of those shows that people had so much pride in. And, you know, we had pride as Americans and American police officers at that time. And people thoroughly enjoyed seeing the good guys do good things and the bad guys, you know, being locked up and arrested.
It's so funny because Cops actually comes to my department now and like they record video all the time. And at our event the other night, like I talk with the camera guy and like the sound guy on regular. They're super nice, super friendly, and they were actually at our event the other night. Like they came in, they had dinner with the officers they were with and stuff, and I saw them. I'm like, oh, did you enjoy it? And I was talking to the camera guy the next day. I go, it was good food, huh? He's like, that was amazing. He's all, thank you guys so much. That was so cool. And I'm like, no, I'm glad you guys got to come and enjoy some food from it. So it's funny just hearing. I forgot to tell you that from the Cops dynamic, but you're absolutely right. Like Cops has always been this almost a badge of honor, like for people to be arrested on Cops. Like there's someone in my office who has a sticker that says I was arrested on Cops, and that's part of like their hook, especially for criminals. Like, oh yeah, I got arrested on Cops. Like they use that as a badge of honor.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people don't talk enough about the mental health impact that this constant public scrutiny that we now live in has on police officers. So I wanted to kind of break that down a little bit. And the psychological concept here is actually the spotlight effect of moral injury, and that's really important for us to discuss.
Yeah, I think when you're always facing that negativity, you're always facing that political pushback and this public scrutiny of who all you hear is this negative about, you know, what you're doing as a career. And I think inherently, and we've talked about this with the groupthink, is you start seeing more and more people just trying to raise up and talk about it. And, oh, I'm scared of cops because they just beat people up. And then you really look at it and you're like, they're so brainwashed, and it's so sad to see.
It's pouring rain outside right now. And for anybody not living in Southern California, it's just not something that we're used to at all. So like I'm excited to hop off the mic so that we can go and just check out the rain like giddy little children on Christmas morning.
It's so funny because we do that. So like it rains or snows, we go outside and we just have to watch it.
I know. I love it. And, you know, I think it's really important for us to recognize what the spotlight effect is, because it's a cognitive bias that leads people to overestimate how much others are observing or judging them. So this could be anybody. But for officers, this isn't just imagined. It's actually real, because that constant awareness of being watched, it enhances that sense of hypervigilance that extends beyond just the job and then into daily life too.
Yeah, I think when you don't create that separation, or you live in that dynamic on a regular basis, you're always being hypervigilant. You can never just power down and recharge. Like a perfect example of this is like looking at your life as like a computer. Like your computer has to update regularly. You have times to where you have to shut it down, to reboot it, to start it up, to get everything kind of flowing right on that computer. If we don't do that with our own bodies and separate ourselves and power it down and update ourselves on a regular basis, you're going to burn yourself out.
So there's this dude's channel on TikTok, and he just goes around and like takes photos of people, very abstract, and he'll notice and identify something that looks beautiful, and he sees it before we do, and then eventually we get to see this incredible photo. But there was a police officer standing behind a barrier, and in the background you see this street just filled with these tall, beautiful lit buildings. And the guy goes up to him and he asks the officer, "Hey, can I take a photo of you?" And you can tell that the cop is not too enthused, and he says, "Well, you're allowed to." And not knowing that this wasn't one of those interactions, right? Like this guy was trying to do something good and nice. And so he took the photo, and then he asked like, "Hey man, do you want to see it?" And when you see the real life video and then you see the photo and what's captured in it, it's breathtaking. And so I think that there's a lot of times officers might not be able to distinguish, what's going on, and are they here just to cause trouble, or, to try to banter with me, or like, what is this?
Yeah, and I think that's something that we fill out as individuals, because we prepare for the worst case scenario all the time, that everyone's out to kill us, everyone's trying to hurt us, trying to defame us, whatever it may be. But we don't take in the human nature side of things too, to be able to really look at a situation, analyze it, and be able to partake as a human upon human interaction.
Yeah, and a lot of times officers might struggle with this chronic hypervigilance. So they have this fear of being filmed because they might be filmed in a misrepresenting way. And then that could keep your stress level constantly elevated, and it's exhausting. And I think too that there's this erosion of public trust, because you might feel like you're unsupported or villainized by the community, and that leads to emotional withdrawal and cynicism. And we saw that so much during the whole Summer of Love with the George Floyd Palooza.
Yeah, I think when you start getting that negative reaction by everybody all the time, and that's all you're ever seeing, there was actually a lot of good that came out of that. And that's where I think as law enforcement, we fail to recognize that too. Because just because we saw that negativity and the impacts that we were having to deal with on a day in, day out basis, there were a lot of people stepping up and fighting back, saying, no, that's not what cops are. And outside of the cop world, they were pushing back, saying, we support you and we are here for you.
Yeah, thank God for those officers that did not take a knee during that time.
Absolutely.
I think that too, sometimes an officer might start to question whether the sacrifices that they're making are still worth it when they have this level of constant public scrutiny.
Yeah, it's why sacrifice so much of yourself and who you are for a public that doesn't care about you. And that's that dynamic that I think I think in every officer's career, we get into that mindset. We get into that space to where like, why am I doing this?
A lot of times too, you might never think about this, but one day might come to where you are the center of that public scrutiny because of that next viral video. And so if that happens, it's really important to know that there are ways to be able to cope with this and then to be able to reclaim your control. And the first is to make sure that you're grounding your identity in values and not validation. All those people are looking for is, the next person to click on their link. And so remember why you started: the service, the protection, the integrity. These are constant things that the public can't redefine, only you can. And it's also important to limit your exposure to the toxic media cycle, because that is all that it is and probably all that it will ever be. You don't need to relive every single headline. You can protect your peace by just choosing how and when you want to engage with news. Yeah,
you need to take little bites out of that and you gather it as information, which is good, but don't completely invest your whole life into it.
I'm thinking about the whole Erica Kirk thing. For some reason, it's like really grabbing at me right now when she said that she never watched her husband die on camera like the rest of the majority of the entire world, I think, did. Yeah, I'm not going to say anything more about that, but I think that it's also important to just find spaces to be able to decompress. So peer support, you can have therapy, trusted mentors, all of these people can help to be able to process the frustration that this is going to have with that public scrutiny before it turns into burnout for you.
Yeah, you want to be able to have those resources, those allies that you can lean on, especially because I don't care what department you work for, how busy it is, how slow it is, you are going to have some sort of burnout if you're burning the candle at both ends.
It's also important, I think, to separate your external perception from internal reality. And, the public opinion shifts. Your personal identity should not. So if you stay aligned with your moral compass, then you're not going to try to stay aligned with the comment section.
Yeah, if you're true to who you are, it doesn't matter what other people say. You should never let others influence who you are as a person.
Yeah, and if I were to hand you a key and say, hey, this is the way out of this is the way to make you feel back to your baseline, back to normal again, the key would read that real connection breaks down the stigma, and having conversations that help to be able to humanize you or the situation is what's going to be able to bring back that trust. I hope you've gotten some value out of today's episode. If you have, do us a favor, drop a review, subscribe down below, and as always, know that I'm sending you a long, tight hug from my home to yours.